what's crazy is how little you need to actually start a business. Everybody overcomplicates things. Your responsibility is going to grow regardless with the goals that you have and that you set for yourself. But I also think that there's power to making a mistake and then being able to experience the emotion and the actual problems that come from that mistake, solving the problems yourself, and then making it out as well. All right, so today we have with us the founder of one of the largest OnlyFans agencies in America, and it's truly an honor to have you here with us. No, but in all actuality, we have Johnny Robinson. He's built and sold his own home service company with his co-founder, Sergio. Now they run Home Service Academy, and they're on track to build a 8-figure business, which is absolutely amazing. Welcome, Johnny. One of the best parts about your story, man, is that you actually come from humble beginnings. If you could start with just, telling the people about how you got into home service to begin with, how you chose that sector.
How far do you want me to go back, and how deep do you want to go?
Dude, give us the roots. Where are you from? Yeah.
So born in Corona, Riverside, actually, California. Raised in California until I was 6. Left to Idaho, actually, and then was raised for a couple years on the panhandle of Idaho in Canada on this big, 200-acre farm, horses, super just hillbilly country. Yeah. So that was cool. That was with my dad. Ended up moving back with my mom, and my mom raised me from the time I was 8 years old until I turned 18, all on her own from the high desert. So Victorville, Sparrow, Apple Valley, which is the ass crack of California. It's the worst place, but it's Southern California. When I was a senior, I always wanted to be a cop. And so I was like, I want to go work for a bigger law enforcement agency. I don't want to work in the high desert. Yeah. So my mom had saved up enough money, eventually bought a house in Hesperia. And so she built up some equity in that home. And she's like, okay, well, I'm going to sell the house. If this is what you really want to do, we can move to Orange County and you can go join some cadet programs, explorer programs, and start that journey. So I was like, okay, cool, let's do it. Senior year, moved from the high desert to Orange, California, and got to Orange, started doing what I set out to do, joined some explorer programs. I actually graduated high school early, and I was just focused on hey, how do I be a cop? So joined some explorer programs, was hitting the gym, and 2 weeks into it, I was like, there's a 19-year-old, they call them cadets, and she started yelling at me. And I don't know what it was. She dropped down and give me 20 push-ups. And it really pissed me off. No. Yeah, it really just pissed me off. And so from that point on, I was like, fuck this. I don't want to be a cop anymore. Came back, told my mom. She was pissed. Really? Maybe she sold her home to, support me. And then after 2 weeks, I'm like, I quit.
Oh, shit.
And so she's like, see it through, stick it out. I was like, no, that's not what I'm going to do. She's like, well, what are you going to do? I was like, I don't know. She's like, well, then you better get a job. And so I started applying for different jobs, and I wanted to work at Knott's Berry Farm for the summer. The problem with Knott's Berry Farm was they weren't hiring, but they were hiring for lifeguards. They would take anyone. And so I had just turned 18, summer of 2016, and ended up getting this lifeguarding job. And I was a lazy river lifeguard, so I wasn't even a good enough swimmer. So I had to walk.
Like a real lifeguard.
Yeah. I would guard in the lazy river, walking back and forth. And so I don't remember how much I was making, $10, $12 an hour. Nice. Also in California. And I had just taken over my mom's car. She gave me her car, but I had to take over the payments. And it was $460 a month.
Oh my gosh.
For a 2008 Toyota RAV4. Yeah, I don't know what deal she had on that thing, but I had to take it over.
Oh, shit.
So I was whipping around this mom SUV and guzzles gas, and I'm making $10 an hour and $400 a paycheck, something like that. Maybe $800 a paycheck. I'm like, this is so stupid. I'm
cover the car payment.
Yeah, I'm telling my mom. I'm literally, I just have this job to pay for this car. She's like, welcome to life.
she's giving you some hard lessons.
That's a good point, though.
Yeah.
No, it is. Yeah, it is. I learned that lesson real quick. So I was like, okay, well, I want to make some more money. How do I make more money? So I was like, maybe I'll learn how to code. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to learn how to code. And so I started searching up on the internet, how to code, and I started doing boot camps and shit. Ended up lasting a week or two. But through that, I found that people would do startups and they would raise money and they would try to sell their business. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. You can just start a business. And then I went down the whole people starting small businesses, your typical boring businesses that people are starting and running. And some of them were getting really big. So I was like, you can just start a business. I thought you needed a degree to start a business. That was like mind-blowing news. So I then take that information to my best friend and business partner, Sergio, who's still my best friend and business partner to this day. And we're 19. So I get done with lifeguarding season. I want to say it's the following summer. They didn't take me back. I was going to try to go back, but they didn't want me back. And I was the worst employee. I was the worst. So I was like, dude, you could just start a business, bro. Let's start a business. And at the time he was applying and interviewing at, McDonald's, Arby's, didn't even get a job at Arby's, like our local hometown Arby's in the high desert.
They shut him down.
Didn't get a job. Yeah.
Wow.
Like how do you not get a job at Arby's?
Tough.
But he's like, no, I'm going to school for civil engineering. I want to see this through. I want to get my job after I graduate. And that's it. So I was like, okay, whatever. And then a week later, he calls me after watching some Gary Vee videos and he goes, hey dude, let's start a business. And I was like, okay, let's do it. So then we go to the drawing board and our first business was a clothing startup called Bent.
No way.
Bent Co. Yeah, we started a t-shirt company. The problem with that business was we paid $300. And that's probably like all the money we had at the time too.
Yeah.
But we need a logo. We go to 99 Designs, put up a contest, pay $300 for this logo, and then we just have the logo. We're like, okay, well, what now? And so Sergio's like, okay, I'm going to draw some of these drawings and we can put these on the t-shirt. And so he draws a bunch of drawings on his notepad.
Oh, no way.
And he's like, I specifically remember he's looking at the notepad and he's like, how do I take these designs and then put them on the screen? I was like, dude, we're cooked. Like we can't do clothing. We got to make money tomorrow. So like, what is it? And he goes, why don't we go clean windows at the gas station? And I didn't think clean windows like as residential, commercial, like actual window cleaning. I didn't know that existed at the time. So I was like, you want to go, like, what do you mean windows? Like, he's like, car windows. I was like, you want to go to the gas station, clean car windows? Like, that's what you want to do? He's like, yeah, why not? And like, to be fair, I mean, it's not the worst idea. Like there's crazier hustles out there, but I look up window cleaning and I find out it's an actual industry. And we find this guy named Keith Kalfas who's talking about how eviction notices were piling up and I didn't know how I was going to pay my rent. And I started this window cleaning business and I sold 48 jobs in 24 hours. 48 jobs in 24 hours. Like that was his shtick. That's kind of what motivated us. And he kind of like laid out what you need to start a window cleaning business. So we came together with $150, ordered some stuff off of Amazon, and we just started going door to door.
Just basic supplies.
Yeah. Like it was a squeegee applicator, which is what you dip into the bucket to actually apply the soap onto the window. Walmart polos with our $5 logo from Fiverr, and it was J&S window cleaning. So Johnny and Sergio window cleaning, and we went and we started going door to door, and we started getting, little donut shops, auto shops, your local hamburger shop. Just started getting accounts like that for $20, $50 a month.
You know what's crazy is how little you need to actually start a business. Everybody overcomplicates things. Yeah. Do you remember the first deal you guys ever I collected money to do this?
Yeah, what was your first transaction?
There's two. So the first one was the donut shop right across the street from my mom's, because me and Sergio were living at my mom's at the time. Mm-hmm. And we went across the street to the donut shop and we go, hey, can we clean your windows? They say, yeah, if it looks good, we'll pay you. And so we're like, okay, like it's not a no, so why not? Oh. So we cleaned the windows. And it's like late in the day now. We had a late start because we were practicing because we didn't know how to clean windows. So we were practicing on my mom's slider before going out. And so we get done like, yeah, it looks really good. But how about we just pay you in donuts? And so they gave us a box of donuts and freaking dozen donuts. We were stoked.
You guys were still hyped about it though?
Yeah, we were still hyped. Yeah, we were hyped. Yeah, we were like, okay, cool. Came back smiling. Like my cousin was living there at the time, and he was laughing. Gave him some donuts, but we're like, we need to make actual money. Donuts not going to pay the bills. So we went back out, and the next job we pitched was a dry cleaner. There was probably like 4 or 5 windows in that dry cleaning place. She was just haggling us down. I think we said $20, and she's like, no, 12. 12, take it or leave it. And so we're like, okay, we'll take it. $12. Job took us an hour and a half. So it's like we made like $3 an hour or something between when you split up. There's 2 of us and it took an hour and a half. That was like the first real paid job, $12. But then after that, we went to the auto shop next door, got that one for $40, got the hamburger shop next door for $50. Then we got this Ford like auto parts store, like old like collectible car. We got that one for $80. And so we did like $200 that day. And so we were just like, oh my God, this is crazy.
Yeah, that's so dope.
So, and then eventually, we continued to scale that and we got into different markets like residential, commercial, like actual commercial where, you clean big buildings. And we ended up doing lots of stuff with that business. We ended up acquiring a $250,000 a year window cleaning business for $1,000 and landed the 2 biggest private universities in Orange County through acquiring that company, and eventually scaled that business up And it's still to this day the number one, I think it's got to be the biggest window cleaning company in Orange County. So if you ever search up window cleaners Orange County, best window cleaners Orange County, whatever terms regarding window cleaning in Orange County, will show up number one on the map pack, will show up number one on the first page of Google, even above Yelp. So just continued to reinvest in that business over 5 years and scaled it up, and then eventually sold it and replicated that process with my mom's business, Mary and a Mop. That business does anywhere between 35 to 40K a month now. And the whole thing was we were using contractors instead of employees. And so at the time, my mom was driving Uber and paying really high rent in Orange County. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm not in a position to just say, hey, mom, here's 10 grand a month, go retire out of my own pocket. But I could use my skill set and everything that I've learned, just do this for you and put you in a position where all you got to do is answer phones, make way more money than having to go bust your back driving Uber. And so that's what we did. Me and Sergio launched Mary and a Mop in December of 2021, excuse me. Okay. And scaled that business. We did 12 grand of revenue our first month.
Now you documented that whole process on Twitter too, right?
Yeah.
Can you go into that a little bit as well?
Yeah. So I was during the tail end of Orange Window Cleaning before we sold it, I was tweeting about running the window cleaning company, and people were just eating it up. Like they really loved hearing about how, oh, is this young guy, and I was in college at the time too. So I had full-time college credits I was dealing with, but I was also tweeting about like, hey, I'm going to college and I'm building this business. This is what we make. And we're like, holy crap, like this kid's crushing it. They really liked it apparently. And so then what I figured was I could knock out two birds with one stone. I could continue to grow my following way faster, and also help my mom out, because I'll call my shot. I said, watch, I'm going to do exactly what I did with this window cleaning business in 1/10 the time, and I'm going to retire my mom from driving Uber. And that was the shot that I called, and then documented it all on Twitter, and people were like, how do I do this? How do I do this? Yeah. And I'll get to that point. But then Mary and Mop took off 12 grand revenue first month, 20 grand the second month, 4 grand profit to 8 grand month one and month two. And she hasn't driven Uber since. We've got Mary and Mop Vegas now. We're recording this in Vegas. So he's got Mary and Mop Orange County, Mary and Mop Vegas. And yeah, it's a cool business. And then eventually started.
We actually utilize
Mary and Mop.
Well.
Shout out Mary and Mop.
Yes. Best cleaning service.
They do a phenomenal job.
For real. Something so if we could backtrack a little bit, you didn't come from wealth. You didn't come from a family of business owners. And if you can share a little bit of insight about like what that struggle looked like when you and Sergio were living with your mom, like how long of a duration did you guys do this window cleaning thing to then get to like the next level? Because like obviously you guys picked up the pace a little bit, but like for how long was that duration where you guys like sleeping in the same bed for a certain period of time too, right?
Yeah. So yeah, you're asking like how long did we eat shit for?
Yeah.
What was the shit eating duration?
Yeah. So it was looking back, it was a long time, but it didn't ever feel like we were truly eating shit. Like, yeah, things were difficult, but we loved what we were doing. Like, it was fun, because we were so down bad when we started. We were young. We had no skills. We had no money. There wasn't a lot of job prospects for us in the first place. Anyways, it's all what's available to you when, you just graduate. You got your local restaurants and, that's what's available to you. Yeah. And so the only way we could go was up. And so
like nothing to lose type shit.
And so, when you land that first, you go from landing $12 jobs, $20 jobs to you get your first $300 job. You get your first $1,000 job. You get your first commercial contract. Those are all things that just like kind of keep you going, And so the thing with the window cleaning business is it's very hard to get up and running. And what I mean by that is we're young. We have no money. We have no credit, no business credit at that either. No one's going to finance us for things like, give us lines of credit or loans if we want to buy more trucks and equipment. And the way you grow and the way you scale a window cleaning business is you buy trucks and equipment. At least that's how we were doing it at the time before we switched to contractors. Right. And so we would grow the bank account, and then we'd immediately have to drain that so we could buy another truck. We had to wrap the truck. We had to buy another like $5,000 worth of materials to outfit that truck. Then we had to run a hiring process, and we had to get all the uniforms and all the paperwork and everything done for all the employees we were onboarding. And then there's workers' comp because we're getting on ladders. So you're paying 20% of every $100 you pay in payroll, you're paying $20 on top of that to cover your guys for workers' comp. And so you're just constantly taking money out of the business to grow it. And so that's kind of what we were doing. But in that process, you go from, we're driving my mom's old Toyota RAV4, now my Toyota RAV4, and we have the freaking ladders pressed up against me and Sergio's shoulders. We're driving and we make a turn too hard. The ladder is crashing into whoever's in the passenger seat. And your car smells like dirty ass towels like when you get into it. Yeah. Because you're driving it all day, going job to job to, now we have this truck. Now we have this truck with a sticker on it. Now we have the truck with a wrap on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So you
We
start
put the
getting to the point where
second
you're like, this is a real business.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, 100%. And so,
real shit.
so
Yeah.
like, yeah, it was challenging, but it was so fun because I mean, we were building something, you know, from
Yeah.
scratch, and then you look back after 5 years and you see like, oh, we have a yard now, and you have 3 trucks, and they're all kitted with pressure washers and water fed poles and all this equipment, and you have guys showing up in your uniform, and you have hundreds of 5-star reviews. Like, it's a good feeling.
Yeah.
But you kind of, I don't know, just during the process, you don't really think about it, I guess.
Yeah.
Just the situation we were in, we could only go up, you know, we only had.
I think it's interesting though, because you're saying like it was fun, but then there's a lot of people that start businesses and there's always like some points where you're like, maybe this won't work, right? Because you're like, you have one bad month or something like that. So obviously your relationship with Sergio is very unique. So like when you guys hit those walls, like, do you believe in motivation? Like what actually pushed you guys to just keep going besides knowing that there was nothing to lose?
I don't think it ever crossed our mind that this wouldn't work because it was a window cleaning business. Like, it's always, dirt is going to get on glass and it's going to need to be, someone's going to need to clean it. That was kind of the mentality we always had. And what kept us going was always just that next truck or that next thing. Once we just do this, then we'll be able to, you know, take more money out of the business or pay ourselves more, whatever it is. And so that's kind of, and still to this day, that's how I think we both operate. It's like, when we just get to this point, let's do this. Let's make this better.
you never really get there though.
Yeah, because it's always the next thing, right?
Yeah.
But that's kind of, it's always thinking about the future and what could be, as opposed to like, oh, fuck, I'm stressed out or whatever. Because there was times where, I could tell you guys some stories. You're in the service business. Like, I had one time, so annoying. We had these 2 guys, and we knew we should have fired them, but it was during busy seasons, during the summer, and we need guys to drive the trucks and do the jobs because it's how we make money. And if we were to fire them, we need to run a new hiring process. We didn't learn the lesson of, hey, you should always be recruiting, and we weren't always recruiting, and so we were just dependent on these 2 guys. We had like 7 or 8, but these 2 guys, we were kind of like, oh, if we let them go, we're gonna have to get back on the truck and we're gonna have to do a lot more work. It's gonna be very stressful. So let's just keep them for a little bit as we find new people. Well, we get a call one day. It's like 4 or 5 p.m. Me and Sergio were sitting. I had rented a new house at the time, so we were hanging out in the living room talking about the business, whatever. And I get a call from our front desk lady, and she's like, hey, those 2 guys, they just finished up at this job and the customers aren't happy. And so I said, okay, we'll send them back and make them happy. She said, no, they don't want them back. And I go, oh, no, my stomach dropped. I was like, no, what the fuck happened? And so she goes, yeah, they got caught doing cocaine in the customer's house in the daughter's bathroom.
Oh my God.
And so you deal with stuff like that. Or you have, you know, we have the trucks. Before we had our yard, we had the trucks parked in the garage. So you'd pull all the trucks out into the neighborhood, and then you'd take off for the jobs in the morning. Well, there's this one Karen that lived right across the street.
Oh, geez.
She'd park her car in front of her house every day, and we had a F-150, but it was a long bed, so it was a really long truck.
Wow.
And so I remember I was taking the trash can out, and I see this dude backing out, but instead of looking at where he's reversing, he's looking at me take the trash out. And I literally watch him just back right into this lady's car, backs right into it. And now you can't get in on the driver's side. And this lady's really fat. So I tried to tell her, like, you could crawl in on the other side, but that wasn't going to work. Problem was, this was on like a Wednesday. She was leaving for vacation on Friday using that car. Yeah. And so now that guy just cost me $2,000 to take that to a collision repair.
All the liability.
Yeah, because you don't want to take you out in insurance. Your insurance rates are going to go up. I'd rather pay for out of pocket. Yeah. So now we got to go to a collision shop, get that fixed. And you just deal with that stuff all the time. And it taught me a lot, where it's like business, there's always just going to be trials and tribulations. Like, that's what it is. You're going to have to deal with headaches. There's no way around it.
But it seems like you and Sergio made like small goals. And once you reach that, then like you pivot to the next to go bigger and bigger, like versus focusing on one main thing, right? I mean, it just seems like, because whenever you set goals, I feel like a lot of times when you set too big of a goal, it could be like discouraging, but it seemed like you and Sergio like always had like a focus every month. And I feel like now with HSA, it's kind of the same. Like you guys have like these smaller goals for your sales team. Would you say you still operate the same way?
Yeah, I mean, we have both. We have big goals and we make sure the small goals tie into the big goals. But
Do you
back
put
then,
more energy and emphasis into, as far as the work goes, into the small milestones than you do the bigger goal?
the way we do it is we have to hit the small goals in order to it's always operating towards the bigger picture. So we kind of like dumb that down into, okay, what do we need to be doing week by week, month by month, and how is that going to break out by department and who's kind of assigned to what. But we're always working hard. It's
Yeah.
we're always working hard no matter what.
Yeah.
But back then, like I think so much differently now about business now because we're just at a different stage. We've been doing this for a long time, but back then it was just like, hey, let's work on this now because this seems like it's the problem. Now we had no idea if that was a problem or not, but we just thought, hey, if we work on this, then this might happen.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it wouldn't, sometimes it wouldn't. So it's like, okay, well, let's try this now.
One of the things you said a second ago, I think it's an important concept. Your responsibility is going to grow regardless with the goals that you have and that you set for yourself. I think a lot of people are like, I want to make $1 million. Well, how much responsibility comes with that? Kind of like what you were going over a second ago. Like you keep getting to that next milestone, but then you have more liability. You have people doing stuff on your watch. You have shit happening that you wouldn't like to happen, but it just happens because you're trying to grow something great. So I think that's a huge concept that I think a lot of people that watch this are probably in that stage of business where like, okay, I know I want to start business, but like everything that they're doing is set on the shelf. It's like, I got my logo on my website and I'll when I get time, I'll put more work into that. When you're talking to that type of audience, what do you think is the secret to getting out of that like mesh area where you're like, I have my full-time job. I'm safe. I want to start a business. I know what I want to do. Right now I have it on a wait list. And like when the time comes around, I'll do it.
Oh, there's not cut for it. I don't have really much to tell people like that because especially in the education business, I've learned talking to a ton of people who take action really fast and people who don't.
Yeah.
There's going to be people that are just constantly stuck in that mentality of like, I'll do it one day. I've never had that mentality, so I can't really relate. And I don't have any good advice for somebody who's like, oh, I feel like I'm not going to, or I don't know how to start, or it's on the back burner. Because if you really wanted it and it was a big enough pain point in your life, then you would go and do it and you go solve that problem. True. And so if it's not that big of a pain point and you're happy with your job, that's fine. Like, you need employees too, and there's a lot of great jobs out there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's just, there has to be people who do the jobs, and there has to be people who start the businesses.
Have you always been this way?
What do you mean?
Like that mindset. Do you feel like you've always been that way?
I would say so, yeah. It's just kind of like, hey, let's start this window cleaning thing. Okay, let's do it. And then we stuck with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't get the whole like, oh, I want to do it. It's like if you wanted to do it, you would do it.
Yeah. You wanted it enough.
Yeah, because the problem is you probably just, maybe you're content with your life and the position you're in, but one day the pain will build enough to where it's like, okay, I have to do something. Yeah. And I think that's what happened to me was I can't do another job. I couldn't go back and get it like 9 to 5.
Yeah.
But
I think the way that you think though, it actually portrays like to your whole team. It's really cool. So we had the opportunity to like meet your whole basically HSA team. And it's cool that like those beliefs are also instilled, specifically your sales team, because we obviously spent a lot of time with them. But like going back to, you had mentioned about your mom starting a cleaning business. So I'm curious like how that conversation went, because she didn't own a business. And like, obviously you have a very strong mindset of like, hey, I'm going to just execute. Your mom, considering like the past that she had, like, how did you kind of convince her that this was like the best plan?
Question. There was no convincing. So the thing about my mom is she raised me on her own, right? And I watched her go from real estate secretary to getting raises and making more money and buying a house. And the way she did that was she's always been a hustler, not like a true entrepreneur where she had a business, but she, if she was like, oh shit, I'm going to be short on the mortgage this month. Let me pick up some transaction coordinating jobs at the office. Let me go hustle the real estate agents and do some transaction coordinating for them.
Nice.
Right. So she'd be working on the files at night and she'd be like, oh, I'm getting $500 a file right now. And she'd be grinding on it. Yeah. And so what I saw from my mom was she always figured out a way. Like we never missed rent, even though there's times where I know she was broke. We were poor as hell. But she would find a way to get it done through various ways of making money.
Yeah.
And so,
okay. So you were just like, let's start a cleaning business. She was like, okay.
Exactly. That's what happened. So I was like, this is what we're going to do. You're going to sit here. You're not going to drive Uber anymore. You're going to pick up the phones. You're going to close cleaning jobs because I know you can yap. I know you have a good mouthpiece on you. Like you're going to close these deals. I already know you will. And so she's like, yeah, okay. Like, let's do it.
Yeah.
And so we launched Mary and Mop and took off.
Yeah. That's so dope.
That's awesome.
Yeah. We love Mary. She's amazing. But basically like with you and Sergio now, where you guys are at now, I'm actually curious, what exactly does your business do? I don't think our viewers really know what HSA is. If you can tell us a little bit about your current offer too.
Yeah. So my current business, Home Service Academy, we've been doing it for we're about to have our 3-year anniversary. It's a education coaching business that teaches people how to start cleaning companies. Specifically, we call it remote cleaning. Why it's remote is because you don't do the cleaning yourself. You hire independent contractors just like we did and Mary and Mop did to go out and do the work. The reason for that is because they have all the equipment, they have all the training, they have all the experience needed. Their vehicles, they pay for their own gas. So you as the business owner don't have to come out of pocket to pay for all that stuff. And so you can hire contractors really quick. And then all you have to do is market and sell the leads. And so that's what we teach people how to do. Is build the legal definition is a referral agency, but we call it remote cleaning business. And we've helped start almost 2,000 now across the US and Canada.
Now, some people would think right off the bat, if you obviously, it's remote and you're contracting people to do the labor, that margins could be lower. Is that a false belief?
No, because it's just a normal cleaning business. You just use contractors. And the benefit to that, you have to pay them a percentage of the job. And so you can fix what your gross margins are going to be, right? The revenue that you have left over after paying your cost of goods, which in this case, it's service business, it's your people. And so you have 40 to 45% of that revenue, of that cleaning revenue, is going to go to the contractor, which means you would ideally have 55 to 60% of your revenue left over every single month to cover everything else, your ad spend, your software costs. And so we typically see net margins to be around 30 to 40%. Now I've seen above 40%, but it's not the norm. Like that's if you're running it extremely well. The norm is 30, 40%.
That's awesome.
Okay.
And then from someone who wants to start something like this, like from scratch, are there any inherent skills that someone needs to have in order to become or to build a successful cleaning business? Or can you literally take someone who has no idea what it is, maybe doesn't have the best skill sets, speaking to people, all that good stuff? Could they still build a solid business?
It's gonna be harder, but for sure, yeah, you can do it. The reason I really like this business model is because obviously we did it for a long time, do it with my mom, and it teaches you all the skills that you need to know. It teaches you how to sell, teaches you how to market. You're starting the business already by building a team anyway, so it's gonna teach you how to hire and recruit. And those are skills that you can take in any business that you ever start. Operations, because you're going to have to manage schedules and calendars and routes. So it'll teach you all those skills, but it definitely does help, especially if you're good at sales. I would say if you're good at sales, it's a very sales-oriented business to where you have to sell on both ends. You have to sell the customers, the cleaning, but you also have to sell the people that work for you. And so you're always hiring and you're always selling. And so if you do come from a sales background, it's definitely a good bit. It's going to be a lot easier for you to come in here and crush it. Yeah. We typically see the people who are in sales see a lot of outside success inside Home Service Academy.
So do you feel like there's a differentiation? So like if you had to choose, like what makes people that are a part of HSA more successful than the others, right? Because you have like some top clients or students, right, that are doing like exceptionally well. So like what separates them?
I would say, so yeah, that's a good question. And this is just a good this is good advice just for anybody running a business. And what we try to be really particular on for anybody that comes in is you need to look at your numbers, you need to monitor everything. And we tell them what the core things are to track. And it's going to be slightly different in every business. Sure. But for cleaning, like you want to track like how often you're converting cleanings to recurring customers, close rate, what your gross margins are at, your return on your ad spend, how many reviews you're collecting every month, right? You got to track all this stuff. And the best clients, even the ones who have, doing $100K a month, this is what they do. They're like, okay, well, I have a problem here. Let's fix it. I have a problem here. Let's fix it. And they use the numbers to guide them as opposed to like just working on random shit. I would say the ones that set them apart is they look at the numbers, but more importantly, that they're execute and they move fast. I would say that's a big difference. Like we have this one client, her name's Gray. She's in Phoenix and she's like 5 or 6 months in and she did 35 grand last month and her revenue and profit has grown every single month. And it's just because she is so particular about looking at her numbers and executing really fast. Yeah. And so she's gone from, 0 to, this 35 grand and it's her full-time thing. She went all in on this. She's at like a 42% net. And that's just because she's great at executing, great at looking at her numbers and knowing how to make decisions.
Wow. What's amazing to me is if you just do the basics in business, like once you start get the ball rolling and people try to ignore it, like they do everything that they can to think that there's something like brand new that they need to start for the business. If you just cover the basics, track your numbers, and then decrease the amount of time you have an idea to the time that you execute, this other time in between those two things, you can make it, very far just doing what you need to do. Everybody searches for the most beautiful next, magical unicorn solution to their problems.
It's so true, dude. It's so true. But I even have trouble following that advice. I dish that advice out all the time. Yeah. But it's like when you're in the driver's seat, I can look into another business that I don't own and be like, oh yeah, like fix that or fix this. But then in your business, like you get jaded a little bit, because sometimes you're like, maybe this is the right way. And you just do more of what's working. Just always do more of what's working.
So like, did you ever have a moment? Cause like, obviously when you're in those jaded moments, did you have a mentor or someone to turn to? I mean, obviously you have Sergio, but like, how did you figure out what was the best decision to pivot to?
We've always had like I don't like to call them mentors, but just people like that helped us out. We had peer groups were very helpful to us. So we're big fans of the Entrepreneurs Organization. So we were in EO in Orange County. And we were part of they called it their accelerator program. So it was for businesses between $250,000, but under $1 million a year in revenue. You had to be a 50% owner or more. How we got into that was we were actually at 42,000 in yearly sales. And we did a student competition where we got up and pitched our business and we got second place. And we were the only business that made money there, which is such bullshit. Like we should have won, but we got second place. And I'm still salty about that to this day. Still pisses me off.
You sound triggered.
But I'm actually very grateful because they ended up giving us a scholarship to join this accelerator. And so we got to meet people. At the time, we're at $42,000 in sales. We just turned 21 years old. And we're talking with dudes who are like doing 800 grand a year in revenue. And to us at the time, we're like, oh my God, this guy's printing money. And so, and we just got to surround ourselves with people like that. And so that was very helpful because we got to meet with a group every month and they provided a lot of insight to us. And I got to see how different businesses operate in different industries and what problems they were dealing with and kind of their thoughts and their solutions to kind of what we were dealing with. And so you learn a ton, not only that, but a byproduct, the next step above accelerator is EO, and you have to be at $1 million or more. And so you have somebody from EO actually coaching your group. And there's like some ballers in there. Like I know Michael Cato would coach us. Michael Cato sold a company called Restaurants on the Run to Grubhub for like hundreds of millions of dollars. And it was like basically, Uber Eats and Grubhub and before apps were a thing, like in the 90s. And you scaled that business up, sold it. And so you get to just learn from people like that, and so that was really cool. And then we joined, different masterminds and stuff. That was cool. But there's another one too. I can't really talk about it, but very helpful.
Yeah. I think the idea of mentorship is interesting to me because it's always helpful to have somebody like to talk to, like whenever you run into a problem, somebody that's further into the fire to while you're walking through the fire to be like, hey, like, what should I do? Or even someone to give you some guidance or suggestions. But I also think that there's power to making a mistake and then being able to experience the emotion and the actual problems that come from that mistake, solving the problems yourself and then making it out as well. I think there's a good mix of like, I need to actually fuck this up and experience the downfalls of the fuck up to become a better entrepreneur as well.
There's also so much like amazing free content out there. Like, that you can utilize too.
There's so much good content, but at the same time, I'm almost like turned off by the amount of content that's out there now. And like going to the masterminds and people get up on stage and speak because what happens is you get all excited and it's just blanket advice. It's not custom. Like nobody knows your business. And so it's very blanket advice.
Agreed.
And you might, and I'm guilty of this too. That's why I'm saying this, because you might hear this and be like, that's that new unicorn idea I need to go start. And then you go fuck up your business by starting that. You take your eye off the ball and you go do this new thing because you saw some dude on stage or in a video say it. There's a lot of truth to that. Like you definitely have to fuck up to really learn.
Being friends with you, we've talked about shiny object syndrome so much, but it's like if you have an operating business that's profitable and you just do that boring shit time and time again and don't pivot to something else. I mean, I think adding to your offer is always great. But there have been a lot of times, I think, like even in our come up where, shit, maybe we should do this, And like, I remember you being like, stop, like,
you're like
don't do that.
Teach people how to do what we're doing.
No. And he told us no, and then we still did it.
And we were like, fuck Johnny, we're going to do it.
That's also an interesting concept. I think there's a difference between making like full changes. I will say though, Active Solutions was started off of shiny object syndrome. We were a completely different agency. And then I was like, oh, I built something cool. Let's like do this. Yeah. But it kind of like accidentally pivoted to that. So it's different. But I think there's a difference between enhancing the core services that you're already provide and just making a better product and having shiny object syndrome. So instead of saying like, hey, let's, we're making more money now. Let's make all of these new decisions and change everything that might and make it become something that will make us more money. It's just provide a better product or service, increase your lifetime value. You have Chick-fil-A level of service is one of your big things that we actually mentioned to our team now. It's like when you go to Chick-fil-A and then you go to McDonald's, from a customer service standpoint, you immediately notice the difference. Yeah. And that's how it should be with any business that you start as well. Like what's your speed of delivery? What is your onboarding process? How streamlined is it? Are you nice to people? Is the customer always right? Those are the important things. in my opinion. And I think you guys embody that a lot, even in HSA. You guys put so much emphasis on your customer satisfaction.
You're pretty close with your students, right?
Yeah, I can name them all pretty much. Like if I saw them by name, call them by name. At least, especially in the mastermind. Now the front end's a little different because you know you've got people coming in every day.
Yeah.
So
it's a little different. It.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I'll give a cleaning example. Lots of times people will get to 30, 40K a month. Their cleaning business. They're like, now I want to go do carpet cleaning. Now I want to go. Let me add on windows. Teach me how to do windows, Johnny. I'm like, dude, you're at $40,000. Like, just keep doing it. What do you like? You just got to $40,000 doing what you're doing. Now you want to go do this new thing. Yeah. And what people don't realize is when you start trying to add on whole new services, like I agree, like make your core services an offering and better, make it better for sure. But when you get to the line of, okay, this is a completely new service where I'm going to have to hire somebody to do the service. I'm going to have to, if I want more customers in that area, I'm going to have to probably open up another acquisition channel, which takes time, resources, and money. I'm going to have to build a bunch of systems and processes around this new service. And not only that, but I don't know what I don't know because it's a new product or it's a new service. So there's going to be, I call them PITA factors, pain in the ass factors that you just don't account for. And anytime you do something new, you're going to run into those. You're going to just be like, oh, I didn't even think of this. And it's going to cost you money or it's going to cost you time and it's going to be annoying.
Yeah. Grass is never greener on the other side. A lot of people, I feel like once they start seeing a little bit of success, they're like, more offers means more money or more solutions means more money. And that's never the case either. Yeah. Like you said, with yours, you can't just start doing carpet cleaning and doing all these other things. You don't even know if the avatar is going to be the same. You don't know if the lifetime value is going to be the same because all your time, effort, energy has went into cleaning the windows. So keep cleaning the freaking windows.
Or you jack up the prices and then get all confident and then you can't make any sales. We've done that.
I do think that's a good conversation as well, though. I think I'm actually interested in your take on this. I think that there is a really good association between the value of the service that you provide, or I guess what a prospect perceives as the value of your service, right? And then the cost that's associated with it. The closer that you can make the value of the service and that they perceive, or that the majority of people perceive that's interested in your product or service, closer to the cost, the longer the lifetime value will be. That's like an equation, like a mythological equation that I've come up with in my head. But I'm like, if someone goes, wow, this is like a $20,000 service and you sell it for, $15,000 or $18,000, and let's just say it's like a monthly service, whatever it might be, the closer that the association is in that person's mind, the longer that they're going to stay because they're like, this makes sense.
So my thoughts on pricing, that could be true. I've never thought of it like that. The way I think about pricing is very simple, actually. It's just, are we closing between 30 to 40%? If we're closing higher than 30 to 40%, then we're not charging enough. If we're closing lower than 30, 40%, and I know it's not a sales issue and my sales reps just suck, then we're probably pricing a lot of people out. Yeah. And so
cool concept.
That's always how we've done it in the window cleaning business. We would monitor now close rates in window cleaning would be for between 60 to 70. Again, if we're going above that, we're charging too little because you don't want to close everyone. Yeah. And then if we're going under that and it's not a sales issue, we probably need to decrease the price, but it's usually never that. It's almost always a sales issue.
Yeah, well, I feel like also in departments, like closing is probably your favorite, right? Would you say in the realm?
Yeah, I would say marketing and sales.
Yeah, I mean, because like obviously we're a partnership too, and you and Sergio have such a successful partnership. But like for young entrepreneurs that jump on a partnership opportunity, because obviously it's hard to do things on your own. What would be your piece of advice for anyone that is going into partnerships? Because you and I discussed like last weekend, they always say like, don't get into business like with your best friend, but you did, and it worked out perfectly.
I would say perfectly. I mean, there's been some bumps.
No, you guys are perfect. I mean,
you guys are perfect for each other.
You slept in the same bed. You lived in the same house. You coddled each other.
Yeah, right. Like,
I think we just got lucky, to be honest. I never have a good answer for this because it just worked out. Like Sergio, like you guys met Sergio.
Yeah.
For anybody watching this, Sergio's the most stoic. Like, I don't even know how to put it. You say something to him, like, for example, we're eating dinner the other day, and it's
can't read him.
Their favorite Korean barbecue spot. I love the spot. They took me there. I'm like, this place is so fire. It's so good. Sergio's sitting there eating. He said, "What do you think?" And Ashton's like, "What do you think, man?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's good."
Yeah, we're
but
like
to
just
him,
good.
like it's, you know,
Just
like
good?
I've known
I'm like,
him.
they hate it.
I've known him since the 7th grade, so like I know he's genuine and he means it.
Yeah.
But he's just a strange guy, and so we work well together in that way, where he likes to sit there and think and build the systems and the operations and
very analytical,
behind the
yeah.
scenes, like analytical, smartest guy I know. And then I'm on the other end. He's very, very introverted. Like you could put him in a social situation. He's like, I need to go by myself. I need to go recharge. Me, complete opposite.
Degenerate.
Sales. I wouldn't go sometimes, you know, but yeah, very sales oriented. Very like, I like to talk to people. I like to yap my mouth off. And it's like a yin and a yang combo.
Yeah,
Like
it's
it
like
works
two
out
strengths.
really well.
Yeah.
Not only that, but that's layer one, right? If to your original question, younger people listening to this that want to do a partnership, you need different skill sets.
Yeah.
Right. And if you don't have any skills at the beginning, you need different things that you guys are interested in. Not only that, but the next layer, which is probably the most important, is obviously alignment. Like, what are you guys working towards long term? And two, level of work ethic. You have to have the same level of work ethic, or else it's just not going to work out.
That's a huge one.
Yeah.
And so I think me and Sergio have just checked all those boxes together, and it's worked out well. And I just think that we got really lucky in a way.
Same
But
level of work ethic is actually something
that's huge.
surprisingly is something I've never actually thought of, because you can associate work ethic with like how much someone has invested into whatever thing that it is they're doing. That can cause a lot of problems. If like someone's putting in 100% and someone's giving 50 and it's like a 50-50 partnership, that's
builds
gonna
resentment too. Yeah. You get pissed off.
Oh, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, and it starts to like it'll build over time too, and then eventually you're just gonna have this like fire in your stomach of like how you don't want to be a partner with this person anymore.
I think it's also like what your 100% means. Because if you feel like you're going 100%, but then the other person or your partner's 100% is like maybe 50% of what you would do, that's also really hard to determine, right? So like I feel like with you and me, we're talking about business all the time. Like you and Sergio, I see you guys like now that he's moved to California, you guys are always on the phone, always communicating, talking about business because you both just love it. So it's really cool.
We're getting pretty deep into this pod, but there are two questions that I think, and you're our first guest on this pod.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
It's an honor to be here.
There are two questions that we
fun.
want to ask everybody that comes on this show, specifically because one of our biggest goals, we just want to help anybody who wants to kind of take the next step and is for whatever reason just hasn't tried or is too afraid to, or whatever it might be, to actually start changing their life. Hopefully they can, get some nuggets from the people that we bring on here. So question number one is going to be, you take someone who is just like right there on the fence, and let's just say they're starting at zero. What advice do you have for somebody that wants to start, hasn't started, has no idea where to start or how to find the right thing that's good for them?
Well, I tell them, if they don't know how to find the right thing, business looks the same in every industry, right? Eventually you're going to hire people to do the shit that you don't want to do. And so find something and sell it. It doesn't really matter what at the beginning, because you need to build some skills, you need to learn. And I would say make your first sale, because once you make your first sale in the business, I mean, you guys probably remember your first sale, right? First time you made $1 online or $1 in your business. I still remember that feeling, and it's the best feeling in the world. But what that does is it builds momentum, because you want more of it. Entrepreneurship is the path for you. You're going to get that first sale and you're like, okay, let's get another one. And I would say figure out a way to sell something. Like nothing really matters. You don't need a website. You don't even need a logo. Like figure out a way to get one person to pay you something. And if you do that, you can then replicate that and build a system around how you got that customer and keep doing it over and over again until you build a business. Yeah.
No, for sure. And then that second question, you're going to be the first one that we ask, but what do you think the secret to a startup actually is?
That's a good question. It's sales. I think it's sales. It's just like, just sell shit.
Yeah.
Sales solves everything. The amount of situations I've been in where I'm like, how the fuck am I going to make payroll? How am I going to survive? The answer has always been sales. And that's the lifeblood of a business when it's a startup, right? To your question, a startup, it's sales. And so it's figure out one market to sell to and one acquisition channel and juice the hell out of it.
I love that.
So if our viewers want to learn more about HSA, about you, where can they find you?
Yeah, Johnny and Sergio on all platforms, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Squeegee God on Twitter /X. So love that handle. Squeegee God. That's actually where I got my start. I think that's my largest following still is Twitter. So Squeegee God on Twitter. And then we make a lot of cool content on YouTube. So Johnny and Sergio, it was a pleasure being here, guys. This was
Thanks,
a lot of fun.
Johnny.
Love it.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.